So I see that the FTSOs really form a fantastic group of guardians to the network. And with staking, our thoughts on that are essentially that the FTSO role and the validator role and the attestation provider, certainly what we call the default attestation provider, gets merged, and essentially your stake to that or your delegation to one of those entities would earn rewards. Stake
to make participating as an FTSO easier, such that the reward band is somewhat relaxed, such that the earnings of FTSOs are more equal. At the moment, it's a very much a winner-take-all scenario.
Welcome to the DeFi Standard, and this is Mickey B. Fresh. Going into Epoch 3, the rewards will begin as the FTSOs, roughly 80 plus, have been submitting data since mid-July. And now we're seeing an immense participation by the community, which is impressive. And this is the one advantage that the Flare Networks has, is we have this great community that already exists that other networks could have died to have something like this. So price is a distraction. Don't get too tied up with that, because at the end of the day, as the network builds out and we have growth from different dApps building on the network and different protocols being built, which is the F-Asset system and the layer cake and the relayer are building with the two protocols, the FTSO and the state connector. So value accrues as there's more utility and use of the network. But we're really in the early days of these ecosystems. And Ash, who goes by DeFi Banker on Twitter, did a phenomenal job asking Hugo questions in the Twitter Spaces TDE on Flare Network.
So as I understand, anyone can provide data services to the FTSO, to the state connector, as well as validating of the network to earn rewards. So how do you see the entities behind these roles evolving over time?
So I see that the FTSOs really form a fantastic group of guardians to the network. And with staking potentially for the FTSO role, if that would pass governance, I see that the attestation providers, the bulk of the attestation providers, are also likely to be validators and FTSOs. So kind of for me, the creation of almost a single cohesive role for all of the aspects of the network, where you have validation, FTSO, and state connector attestation essentially rolled into one technical package. I think that's probably the best path forward for it.
Yeah, that's the fascination for me, realizing that, first of all, the system's very open, so anyone can participate, but also for the community, the delegators, where we choose to, delegate to whoever we want. And I think in the future, as the system becomes more or less, what's the word, maybe saturated or an equal playing field, should you say, I think branding will matter a lot. How do you envision the relay of FTSO prices as well as state attestations? How do you see that being adopted by the broader, cross-chain ecosystem beyond Flare? And if I can add another question to that is, what would be the network effects of such relay data?
So obviously we're not building a relay system ourselves, but we do have a number of parties that have expressed an interest in building a relay system, and in fact have some really very interesting thoughts on how to do it. We're also looking at working with some of the existing relay networks that do exist out there. I think the FTSOs are a fantastic oracle. It's been a great success on Songbird, and I really think that if we can open it up to the broader crypto ecosystem, I think it's a potentially very interesting idea that applications all across the ecosystem could potentially be using the prices that are delivered by this really wonderfully decentralized oracle that is secured and really forms the Flare network. So were that to happen, certainly there would be great network effects. I think there would be network effects as well if people build bridges to and from Flare. So the more going outbound and the more coming inbound, the greater network effects there will be.
If you mentioned staking to validators, is there any, because the way I see it, FTSO as a service, we as a community, we delegate our vote power, and then we earn a proportion of the inflation. So with validation, is there any ability for our delegation to the validators for us to earn rewards, seeing as if
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. Again, governance vote can't change anything without governance. But our thoughts on that are essentially that the FTSO role and the validator role and the attestation provider, certainly what we call the default attestation provider, gets merged, and essentially your stake to that or your delegation to one of those entities would earn rewards. Stake being essentially locked up and essentially not at risk from slashing. We're not necessarily intending to put forward a proposal that has slashing. We're looking at can we integrate staking into the FTSO validator component? The staking component would earn more than the delegation component. The staking component would only be a small percentage of the total amount that is delegated to essentially validator FTSOs. But it would earn a little more than the delegators, as it's a riskier activity.
Right, it's fascinating.
So how is Flare going to develop? One thing that we learned from that video right there is that the FTSOs are going to be the guardians of the network. And this is really interesting because it creates a dynamic where to be a validator, you first have to be an FTSO. So now you have to pass this hurdle of the community delegating votes to you, and you submitting price data that you believe is the most accurate and truthful, because that's how FTSOs submit the price data, or it should be. At least the goal is that there really is no best price. It's what each FTSO thinks is the best price, and to create a decentralized oracle system where these applications can use this data and feel confident that it's not going to be manipulated, it's not going to be dramatically different from what it should be, and every 3 minutes is a different interval, a time series. And being in the fourth decimal place, a little ahead of that one, is not going to be what determines the reward rate in the future. So what you will see is a flattening out of the reward rates.
Very clear that the team, you guys have really thought deeply about network incentives. Every process, every protocol for data provisioning, first of all, is decentralized and it's rewarded. So even governance on Songbird, for example, for FIP, has incentives and game theory built in. I'd like to hear, more broadly, Hugo, to what extent has the team thought about embedding incentives into the network?
I mean, that's really been the whole protocol design. We spent a huge amount of time, and now we've had time with Songbird to understand how people act, in reality, not just under some kind of academic assumptions. And it's been a fantastic process for us to observe how people act and where essentially there might be ways to improve the way incentive mechanisms work. So, for instance, with the FTSO itself, we're looking for ways, and I believe a governance proposal will be delivered on Songbird to make participating as an FTSO easier, such that the reward band is somewhat relaxed, such that the earnings of FTSOs are more equal. At the moment, it's a very much a winner-take-all scenario, and that's great. But it can incentivize nefariousness. Again, that nefariousness has never gotten to a level that has in any way threatened the Oracle itself. But we want to make sure that those incentives are removed as we move forward.
Yeah, agree. And the FTSO was built and designed for decentralized prices, and at the moment on Songbird, it's doing exactly that. And so I think also agree with you, relaxing the reward band would achieve its aim still. So no, I agree with you there.
And as Hugo said, there's going to be a governance proposal that will add staking. Now, the idea of adding staking, because 2% inflation goes to validators. And now this means that everyone in the network can get a piece of the validation rewards. And I think this is very interesting because it's not going like full-blown proof of stake, but it's adding a component to the proof of stake. And what you'll get with that is a different type of delegator, where everyone's not just looking to try to get the highest reward rate. And that's how it was on Songbird, but that's coming to an end because there's no sustainability with that. If everyone's trying to get to the best, there really is no best. As long as everyone's submitting accurate data and their uptime's there, that's the first job of the FTSOs. Now going forward, they're going to have to run validators. Now running validators entails making sure there's uptime, making sure you have the right software and you update at the same time, and the security on the validator. Then there's going to be the attesters, which is going to pull data from other networks. Now with this, there's different client sides. So they'll be able to run different client sides, which is healthy, I think, for the network going forward. So they're going to be the guardians of the network. And it makes it, they're more than just, say, a validator on Ethereum 2.0 or on Cosmos, because they're now responsible for these three different things, but they don't really conflict with each other. And the incentives are aligned with the network. And it's always the most important thing, is as long as the incentives of the users, the stakeholders, and the founders are all aligned, you won't have an issue. But when you have miners who are extracting value and then taking the value to buy electricity, that's a problem. And that's what Bitcoin's whole problem is. And this is why Ethereum switched over. So going into it where there's no more proof of work is a better situation. But at the same time, proof of stake does have its drawbacks. And this is not a full-blown proof of stake system. It's just to add on. And this will allow more FLR to be locked up too. So that's another thing, is that this is a distribution for 3 years. It's going to take place. And 3 years, we're going to have the transfer of value from those who don't want to hold the token, who don't want to participate, to those who do. Now, this is mechanism design, and this is built into the network, and it's a core design. XRP is not built like that. Not at the moment, at least. Now, will that change? In due time, you could see different things. But Flare and every other network is built where it lines the incentives and you're able to earn by participating, because the blockchain will not have value and the network will not have value unless you have a community to participate. And that's something that this community really needs to understand well. And I like what I see with the Flare network, with those who are in the community and, rising stars like Ash, for example, like these questions, like that's somebody who just came out of, and learned and understood and researched this and really grasped the concept and then was enthusiastic about it. And, they're building this out. We have a say in when it comes to proposals in the future. Like, knowing what you're involved in, not everyone's going to realize that right away. And like the last video I did, tried to explain that there's going to be people who have no idea the opportunity and they want to sell. That's fine. Go. But you're not going to stay here for 3 years and you're going to sell that and hurt us. That's not going to happen. So you don't sell the distribution away if you sell the initial 15%, because anybody after FIPO 1 goes through can participate and get it. So there's some misunderstanding out there. Major level. So vote power is at 2.5%. Now, on top of that, they've already optimized the rewards to be more evenly distributed. And then there's going to be likely a governance vote, because the attesters, the validators, and the FTSOs are all going to be as in one and be like the guardians of the network, he called it. And staking with the FTSOs will earn you not just additional, but more than your FTSO rewards. And trying to say who's going to be the highest reward rate FTSOs, that's going to fade just like every other network. If anyone's participated on the proof of stake networks, there's not too much of a determining factor between why you choose that validator or that. It's usually for other reasons, and it's going to be the same here. Because let's think of it like this. If there's no one price, and the FTSO on Songbird has been spot on data, probably one of the best oracles ever when it comes to accuracy of comparing overall prices for a year. And then it's decentralized in that it's distributed, but by adding the proof of stake and tying it to the validator, it forced the validator now to put up some kind of stake. And it also makes it Sybil resistant. And then tying it to the attester. Now they have more of an interest in the network of it succeeding, because now there's multiple roles. Unlike just a validator who just validates transaction, they run the software, they make sure it's there. The data providers are going to pull data feeds in. And that's the other thing. We're going to get new types of data feeds. All different types of things could be coming in. And every round of random price is chosen of what pairing it will be. There was a call for fiat, just like USD to Euro, USD to Silver Pounds, GBK, and Australian dollars, Japanese yen, that might be desirable. Because remember, the applications are implementing the price feeds. That's what they're there for. So if everyone's trying to go for whoever has the best price, it's kind of there is no best, and it's going to only create an environment where nefarious activity will brew. And we've seen that kind of happen on Songbird a little bit. So that's why having the Canary network, they were able to observe, and now all these things that have happened now implement something that is going to be robust and last for a long time. And by aligning the FTSOs, the validators, and the attesters, and also the delegators. So the delegators get to earn now a bunch more. But here's where the cool thing happens. When you stake with the validator, you're earning FTSO, you're earning staking rewards, but you're going to get a liquid derivative, a liquid staking token then, which is just like Flare, and that can be used as collateral. So now that's the other way to earn, is then utilize your asset and still do what you do with the FTSO. Still comes with governance rights. This is called massive programmability and utility. Like, this is utility of an asset. But it's really not just the assets, the protocols. You see how it's the protocols that go with it that make it all happen. And then the composability and the mechanism design. This is how you kind of get an idea if something's going to be successful or not. Was it designed right from the beginning? What does it really need to be successful? So that will trigger us. Also, the validation rewards will gradually increase. So 2% inflation goes to the validator rewards, which could go to delegators and validators, but there'll be considerably less staking, he said, than FTSO delegations, so the rewards you'll earn will be higher.
So we're looking at, can we integrate staking into the FTSO validator component? The staking component would earn more than the delegation component. The staking component would only be a small percentage of the total amount that is delegated to essentially validator FTSOs, but it would earn a little more than the delegators, as it's a riskier activity.
Right. It's fascinating, Hugo. I can't wait to really.
Now, you can't split and go to one validator and delegate to another. You're going to have to stake with just one. So that we're going to find out more detail. So it's just something to know about and know what to expect here or coming with the FTSOs. Trying to be able to just go to the top 10 and pick. Those days are over, as they should be. And the point is that it's evenly spread as long as everyone is providing what they feel and their algorithms are the most accurate data on price feeds. There's no, we're going to the fourth decimal place on some things here. And then they're getting unevenly distributed because then everyone's trying to get the same algorithm as the one with the most vote power in the front. So that had to change, obviously. And we're going to see more and more level off, and you're going to see a lot of interesting things develop that the FTSOs, validators, and attesters are inherently now part of the ecosystem, and composability gets really interesting. And you'll probably see a lot of cool things with these yield aggregators in the futures and prediction markets and NFTs and all types of interesting stuff. And then we have the collateral system. So this is what's being built here. Don't be distracted by this price on these exchanges. That means nothing right now. Absolutely nothing. Unless you're looking to buy. Then you gotta, it's a different conversation. But regular mode will be triggered. And the community-run FTSO validators are deemed reliable enough. So this could be anywhere from 6 to 9 months. So 20% of the total inflation, which is only 10%, go to validators. But delegators can now earn some too. And it looks likely, there's no real full details, but there's some. It probably have the same mechanism as the FTSOs, where the validators get a commission, just like in every other network. But it's not a full-blown proof of stake, though. So this is here just to kind of have there's no slashing. There's nothing at risk then for the actual delegators. I think there might be a longer term, for when you get the rewards, based on how everything else is set up, you have to be in for at the random snapshot times if they only distribute rewards twice a month or once a month. It's definitely going to be less than the EPOD and then the FTSOs. But the monthly distribution still comes out. You'll still get that too. And we have the special delegation account called the personal delegation account that's built for executors to execute claims for you. And it can be used in all different ways. It can be used as an escrow to avoid tax liability at that moment and still earn rewards with that. So pretty cool stuff what they built here, making it easier for the users. And we're going to be in beta for a little while. So understand this is a beta process. And we will get there. But don't expect miracles overnight.
For me, the creation of almost a single cohesive role for all of the aspects of the network, where you have validation, FTSO, and state connector attestation essentially rolled into one technical package. I think that's probably the best path forward for it.
What has your team learned from the Songbird Network and the current DApp ecosystem?
So a couple of things. I mean, we talk internally a lot about how happy we are with how Songbird has evolved, really. to take a system like the FTSO from essentially a set of ideas and a white paper to what may be the most decentralized oracle in the space, certainly one of the most accurate oracles in the space, has been immensely gratifying for the team. That's not to say that we haven't found that there are drawbacks. So when we launched the FTSO system on Songbird, we had too high of a cap for the amount that could be delegated to a particular FTSO. And really that high cap was because we didn't necessarily expect the FTSO system to be as successful as it has been. We've really had huge uptake amongst data providers, which is a glorious result for a decentralized system, but it certainly shocked us. We've also seen limited examples of certain FTSOs perhaps duplicating themselves, essentially issuing the same algorithm to get more vote power. We have certain governance proposals that we will be delivering in the future, or anyone is of course welcome to issue a governance proposal after that system opens up to alter the possibility for collusion. We think that over the long term, the best way to do that with the FTSO system is to move to a staked FTSO system, partially staked. So there's still delegation, but there's some staking so that there's some value at risk. We're working on some ideas around that. We'll issue that to the community, and the community can decide whether that's something they want to go for. We think it's a very good idea. So, the development of Songbird has been amazing. It's amazing to have really a lot of builders on Songbird for such an early stage. As you know, we've articulated a lot of concepts around bridging, things like the F assets, things like layer cake. We're very excited to see those come to fruition through partners that want to build those kind of things. And we think that will turbocharge the Flare ecosystem. Thank you for coming with us on this journey, both the team and the community. We really hope that you enjoy using Flare, that it provides an interesting way for you to engage in the decentralized environment, that it provides utility to you. And we really look forward to the development of the network, development of applications on the network by people that want to build on it. Thank you very much.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Hugo.
Are absolutely technology first, of course, but provide a level of, I guess, allow for very sophisticated financial partners to come in and provide insurance at the protocol level. So this is kind of like taking an idea from traditional finance, insurance, and bringing it into the decentralized space by allowing that insurance to operate at the smart contract level. I don't think it's not particularly, revolutionary. There are decentralized insurance models out there, but not for bridges, not for cross-chain activity. And we think that bridges and cross-chain activity are probably some of the riskiest areas in the space. And we really want to try and make that substantially better going forward. And so, the roles in those protocols are very much around making sure the bridge is trustless, making sure that if you're moving your asset between one chain or another, that there's no centralized intermediary in the middle. But doing that safely with insurance, it doesn't matter that the insurance is provided by a centralized party. Anyone could provide it. It doesn't matter even if that insurance is provided by one party, because the protocols keep it trustless, because the insurance funds are held on chain. So this is a really nice hybrid between, super decentralization and essentially providing a role for traditional financial entities to get involved in a decentralized mechanism.
Yeah, look, I'm sort of nodding and shaking my head in sort of fascination.
We launched Canary Network last year called Songbird. And the first protocol to go live on that network was the FTSO. And as most of you probably know, that Flare is pretty much, we think, one of the largest token distributions to have ever happened. One of the reasons we did that was because it gives us the ability to distribute the token very, very widely. And that means that the network benefits from the decentralization of distributing that token. It also means we have communities all around the world. So from South America, North America, Asia, the Middle East, where I live, and Europe. So this gives us the ability to bootstrap decentralization and people building on the network. And we've been, very lucky with that. And, we really thank the community for doing that, for coming with us on this journey. And it has been a journey, and it will be a long journey going forward, hopefully a very exciting one. And, one of the first things that was tested on Songbird was the FTSO. And we're now at 80 data providers on the FTSO, if not more. It's been providing prices every 3 minutes since about September 2001. It's highly accurate, and it's, we think, one of the most decentralized oracles in the space. So we're really excited by that, and that shows the power of Flare's community. That the decentralization of the FTSO is really, really important for quality data delivery. And I think when we looked last, we think about 60% of the people that received Songbird tokens are delegating those tokens. And by any metric in our industry, in blockchain, that is absolutely huge. And so we've achieved really great decentralization on Songbird, and we've already got about 80 data providers onboarded onto Flare. So we're really looking forward to the community, you guys and girls, delegating your tokens as soon as you receive them from our FTSOs. Remember, these are people that have come to the network and decided to build quite meaningful infrastructure on it. It's a hard job, and to be able to get so many and who are so passionate about what we're doing, what we're all doing as a community, is unbelievably exciting. So we think that's a fantastic start for the network, and we really thank all of our FTSOs for participating. And we really want the FTSOs to talk to us, join us, talk to us about how to improve the system, where it can be better. We already have been doing a lot of kind of outreach to the FTSOs, talking to them, figuring out where the system can be better, how we can make it easier, how we can make it more scalable. That'll be an exciting challenge. So we look forward to the price provision mechanism on Flare getting better, and taking in more people. So that's kind of where we are with the FTSO.